This week on VIP, I'm taking to the River Clyde to be exact, because that's where you're most likely to find my guest, George Parsonage. As officer of the Glasgow Humane Society, he's on call 24 hours a day, and his duties involve rescuing people who are in danger of drowning or indeed recovering the bodies of those who unfortunately have drowned. It's a solitary existence, and yet he admits that he never feels closer to God than when he's on the river. George, what's the history of the Glasgow Humane Society?
The Humane Society was set up in 1790. In 1787, a Glasgow merchant, Coulter, left £200 in the keeping of the Faculty of Surgeons, which is now the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Glasgow. And in 1790 they met in the Tontine Hotel, same time as Robert Burns was sitting in Ayrshire writing Tam O'Shanter. They met and the Glasgow Humane Society was founded. The idea was that at that time, if you tried to commit suicide, you were thought of as a criminal. And if anybody went to try and help them, they were a kind of accessory after the fact. Societies were being set up all over the world with the idea of rescuing people who get into distress in the river. Amsterdam, Paris, Milan, the London Humane Society, everywhere, Hamburg, and as far as the London Humane Society, which is now the Royal Humane Society, they went solely towards giving money and medals to encourage people to rescue people, whereas the Glasgow Humane Society instantly set up an officer, the practical side, and as far as I know, we are the only surviving practical organisation, Humane Society, left in the world.
Your father was the longest serving officer with the Glasgow Humane Society, clocking up over 60-year service, for which he was awarded the British Empire Medal. You must have been very proud of him.
Yeah, it was a very proud day when he got the British Empire Medal. It was supposedly for saving 230 persons from drowning. After my father died and I was able to do a wee bit of research and look into records, it was nearer 1,200, 1,300 persons that was actually rescued, and that was quite remarkable. I found it quite remarkable also in the fact that at that time it was, suppose that you actually took more people out the river dead than alive, whereas it's not true. We actually rescue more than we've taken out dead.
And did he share his interest in the job with you?
Oh yeah, it's a mutual thing. I mean, the joke is that I can't remember when I can't row. You can remember learning to walk, but you can't remember learning to row, You just were brought up in it. You had to be, it's a way of life.
How would you describe your relationship with the river?
It's a love-hate relationship. I'm never happier than when I'm on the river and you're fighting against it and you're trying to deprive it of its ability to kill people and things, And you're trying to outwit the river. It's an ongoing thing. You're fighting against each other all the time. You're fighting with it and yet you love it, It's a funny. I suppose it's like marriage. Describe for me a typical rescue. there's no real typical rescue, but when rescue occurs, the thing you've got to think of is you've got to move very, very fast. My father always said you had between 30 seconds and 3.5 minutes to rescue anyone that was in the river, not hanging on to anything. It's got to be very, very fast. So when you haven't time to change clothes or to put anything else on, you've just got to go. You make your decision, you take a course of action, and you've got to stick by that, and hopefully, we always have rescued the persons.
What can you remember as being the worst scenario you've ever witnessed?
Well, there's a lot of bad scenarios. The thing I would hate would be to see someone in the water drowning. I'm very lucky. My father had that proud boast, and so have I, that anyone we have seen in danger of drowning in the river, we've always managed to rescue. The thing I really would hate would be to not be in time. I've been in the scene where shortly after someone drowned, and I've had to actually enter the water and bring them to the surface and apply artificial respiration when I knew they were beyond help, but for the sake of their friends and relatives, I've got to do it. That's not nice at all. So you want to make sure that just doesn't happen,
And I guess that for every very sad and very tragic incident, there are amusing incidents and happy endings too.
Well, there are many happy endings because, we rescue more people than we, take out having drowned. So far more are rescued. So that is always a very happy scene. And yeah, it can give you you can get a lot of reward out of that. There are a lot of amusing cases, certainly. There's always amusement in things like this. There's funny things happen, and you get a lot of reward out of it.
What's the funniest thing you can remember happening?
We once had a donkey coming down river, and it went through some 5 police divisions before we managed to get one. Every time it floated from one division into another, the police said, it's not in our division now, you need to get somebody else. So, things like that they can be very funny.
Part of your role must be that of a counsellor, because you're really the first point of contact these people have when they're rescued.
This is true. You get people who, as you say, they think they don't want rescued, they think life's not worth living, and you've got to take that can bring a bit of humour in. You've got to almost crack a joke with them and say something, don't be so silly, here's a youngster like me has risked their life to come out and save you, so God must have a reason for that. You make almost a joke of it. You try to get them thinking, and you say, no matter how bad life is just now, that surely, the fact that God sent somebody to rescue you can make there's something ahead for you. It's up to you now to make the most of it.
Do these people make you cross? Because here they are, either crying for help or desperately trying to end their lives. And you're called out and you have to rescue them.
These people don't make me cross. I get cross at society because these people have got into that state. An awful lot of cases it shouldn't be allowed to happen. It's very, very